Yo, what's up with y'all boys and girls, man? Hey, it's Jay Briggs here with Mitch and Big Al McMorty as we continue to break down this NFL action. Picks from the DawgHouse NFL edition. Man, season moving right along, fellas. Season moving right along. Some teams falling to the wayside. Some teams steady building their resumes. Still a lot of teams where the book is still out. Mid-season football, fellas. Mitch, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm still moving forward with my NFL. I had a slow start. I'm known for the slow start to most seasons. If I can get off to a fast start, that's really fortunate. But with NFL, I had a little bit of a slow start, a couple bumpy weeks. A couple passes that went against me, late scores. But I'm starting to get my footing together. So 3 winning Sundays in a row. I think my record is, I don't know. I have 1 loss, 2 losses, and 2 losses, whatever that is. 6, 5, 11, 15, and 5. My last 20.
There you go. Mitch getting it done. Let's see if we can keep the momentum rolling forward. Big Al McMorty, how you doing?
Doing well. It's going well, so I can't complain. Had my biggest play of the NFL season last week on the Carolina Panthers, so that was a fun
Me
game.
too. Too.
Yeah, all the clients vomited as it was an easy cover. So yeah, we'll see what this week gives. Congrats,
Yes.
Jay. Great minds think alike.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On this show last week, I told everybody if I can catch that Panthers money line finally,
Oh, I remember you saying that
I
too.
will finally be able to bury that hatchet and leave them alone. So, shout out to the Panthers, man. Shout out them boys. Hey, that's why we love this show. That's why I love talking to you guys and talking it through. You guys help me see situations and spots like that, and I think this is a week where we definitely need both of you guys' expertise mixed in with what I bring to the table, man. It's one of them weeks in the NFL. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm ready to break it down. Let's hop right in. Thursday. We got a great game on Thursday. Probably the best Thursday game we've had all season. A meaningful game. We got the Baltimore Ravens at home, at the crib, with the Cincinnati Bengals rolling in. Ravens, sizable favorites, laying 6.5 here in this one. Mitch, you landing here with Baltimore?
I think the NFL, they're trying to bait us in here with all the points here with the Bengals, but I'm not feeling it. I liked the Ravens last week. We heard a lot of the people in the YouTube comments um, loving the other side in that one with the Broncos. I think the Ravens just dialed in right now, man, and they're just playing the better football. I think the Bengals, well, we've seen them have slow starts before, and I mean, it's not doesn't take much to make the playoffs. The 17 game schedule. I still think that the Bengals won't be out of the playoff hunt, but I think the Ravens start to really put some distance between them and the Chasers in the division. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one, lay the points.
But yeah, how you feeling?
Well, I'm looking at the total rather than the side. You take a look at the opener, it was 49 and a half at most places. Some places were as high as 52 and a half. Pinnacle opened at 52 and a half. But DraftKings Bet Online opened 49 and a half. But now it's all the way up to as high as 54. It's circa 53 and a half at most other outlets. So the money's flowing in on the over. I don't see it. I understand why it's happening. I just think they're making the wrong decision. Both of these teams tallied 41 points last week. The Bengals blew out Las Vegas 41-24, and then the Ravens routed Denver 41-10. But I just think it's going to be a lower scoring game than people anticipate. NFL games actually have gone under the total 60.4% if both teams scored 38 or more in the previous game and the over-under line was 54 points or less. So keep an eye on the over-under line. We don't want to see it, creep up into the 54 and a half, 55 range. But if it is where it is now, I'm going to take the under.
I like that under too, Big Al. I think this is just going to be a classic AFC North tough battle, is what I think we're looking at here. I know that the first meeting this season was high scoring, but I don't know. I'm thinking this one's going to be a little lower scoring. I kind of like the under, but of course, I like the Cincinnati Bengals in this one, and I think they have a legitimate chance to go and win this game outright. Season on the line, back up against the wall, small room for error, no real room. To mess around. I think they go and get them. We see the Ravens. These are the teams they struggle against. Teams in division. Teams that are built and equipped to play them, to beat them. And Cincinnati with their backs up against the wall. Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, and Jamar Chase and company. That's a team I will always like to rock out with when their backs up or against the wall. They've shown me and have the track record that they can and will come through in these situations. So, tough game. The Ravens have proven to be the better football team this season, and I do have some concerns about the Cincinnati Bengals defense. But I think when it's all said and done, the Bengals probably have a chance to go down and win this game. So if Joe Burrow has the ball in his hands in that situation, I'm gonna rock out with him. So give me Cincinnati plus the points, and I think the season on the line, outright money line is definitely in play. Let's keep it rolling. That was Thursday night football, fellas. We head to Sunday's action. We got a foreign game this week. We're in Germany. We're the Panthers. Shout out them Panthers, man. Got a dub outright last week. 6.5-point dogs in this one. Big Al, how you feeling about
Okay. So here's the thing. Sometimes you would rather be lucky than good, right? We did win with the Panthers last week. But if you go deeper into the game stats, you'll find that the Saints actually were the better team on the field. Carolina was out-yarded in that game 423 to 251. But it was, the Panthers were 3 for 3 scoring touchdowns when it was in the red zone. New Orleans was 2 for 4 when it entered the red zone. And that was the story of the game, just efficiency in the red zone. We'll take it, of course, but, can you really trust the Panthers on a going forward basis? I can't. They're 2-7 ATS on the season. They're 7-19 ATS their last 26 away from home. I'm going to take the Giants.
I'm not in love with this game, fellas. Laying points with bad teams is something I hate doing. And the Giants, in my opinion, are a bad team. And because they're a New York team, they're overrated, overvalued, simply because of that. But in that same breath, I think we saw a coach get fired last week because he lost to the Panthers. And I think something similar is on deck here for the coaching staff of the Giants if they don't get their shit together, especially and don't win this game by a pretty substantial margin. When I look at who these two teams have talent collective, the Giants are the better football team. And if they can't put the pieces together here, then the wheels are completely off the cart. So I usually like backing teams like that. Again, this is another back up against the wall style situation for the Giants. Again, if this coaching staff can't beat the worst team in the league at this current time in their tenure, then they just don't deserve to be here. And they probably won't last out of the week. We've already seen Salah get fired for a foreign game. So we've seen the coach be fired from a foreign game, and we've seen the coach be fired after playing the Panthers. There's two bad scenarios to be on the Giants, but I think it's the case for me this week. Give me New York. Mitch, how you feeling?
I call this a farmer's market game. You put the Panthers versus the Giants on TV, I'm out the door. I'm at the farmer's market. I don't care less about this thing. This team is so bad. It's we got two terrible teams. We got really Dabo, who's got to be one of the worst coaches out there. I've moved him over from a guy that I like to a guy that I really hate. He is one of these analytics morons out there. I can't stand this. I know Al and I totally disagree on this. When you're down by 14 points, you kick the extra point. I don't care. You look at the best coaches of all time. We can go down the top winning percentage coaches of all time, the guys with the most wins, and not one of them goes for 2 down by 14. Not one of them does it. Don Shula, Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. Let's look at all the best. Even the Oregon, Dan Lanning. Nobody does it. The guys who do it are these idiots that get fired all the time. McDaniels, the guy on the Eagles, this guy. It's like, you're not smarter than those guys. You're not a better coach than those guys. What you are is a guy that blows that you're getting 4 points. You could have easily lost by 3 last week. Instead, you lose by 5. When it's like you missed the 2, then you have to go for 2 the next time just to get back where you started again. Is where you are. Nick Saban says when you miss that, it's like 2.5 point swing every single time. When you go for it in a bad spot like that, when you go for it on 4th down and when you could have kicked a field goal, or you go for it for the 2-point conversion, when really all you need is 1, it's a 2.5 point swing every time you miss, basically a turnover. it's equal to a turnover, and you lose the turnover battle, you lose. And I'll tell you who loses a lot is the Giants, and I'll tell you who's not going to lose that much anymore is this Giants coach, because I think he will be fired shortly. And especially, you're right, Jay, if he loses to the Panthers, he is Gomby, but I don't care. This is an under all the way. They stuffed it over in Germany because they couldn't sell a ticket for $5 over here to watch this garbage. I'm gonna take the under.
That's okay. So I actually just tweeted about this last week. It's specifically.
Did you have the other side? Did you have the Commanders? Is that?
No. This I forget even which game this related to, but it's specifically when you're down by 14 points exact late in the game. That's the only time where you're going to go for 2 on the first because you need 2 7-point scores just to send it into overtime. So This is what I tweeted out. You increase the odds of winning from 50% to 62.5%. When you're down,
if you don't make it, you don't.
Hold on, just let me read you what I tweeted, Mitch. When you're down by 14 late in the game, you know you need 2 TDs to send it into overtime, where one can assume you have a 50% chance of winning. But by going for 2 on the first touchdown, you have a 50% chance of making it. And then you can avoid overtime by kicking a winning extra point in regulation on the second TD. But if you fail, you still have a 50% chance of making the 2-point conversion on the second chance to send it into OT. So you have, in addition to the 50% chance of winning in regulation, there's an additional 12.5% chance of winning in overtime. 50% plus 12.5% equals 62.5%. And you derive 12.5% by multiplying 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5, which represents the percent chance of not making the first 2-point conversion, then making the second 2-point conversion, and winning in overtime. So it's just math.
All fine and well. But unfortunately, the odds of making the 2-point conversion is 31%. So
it's
that's
50%.
It's 31.
It's 50% across the board.
It's 31 this year. 31%. It's 31% this season.
Okay, I don't know this season. I'm looking at 20, 40 years of data. It's 50-50 in college and pro.
Well,
so
this year, when defensive coordinators are dialed in on it, it's 31%.
Okay, well,
so there, all that other stuff goes out the window.
Well, if it holds at 30, if it holds at 31%, you're right.
I mean, all the greatest coaches of all time have always kicked it.
Okay, so here's NBC Sports, October 29th. Current success rate of just 31% is well below the historical average and well below last season when NFL teams succeeded on 70 of their 127 2-point conversion attempts, a success rate of 55%. So
and guys used to run wild in the Wildcat. Defensive coordinators, they figure this stuff out.
No, but when you look long term, you can't just take a 6-week sample size. When you look long term,
I will take the sample size that fits my argument 100% of the time.
Fair enough.
As a matter of fact, I will modify the sample size just to fit my argument if need be.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But there's a reason why most. I had the Maryland Terrapins against Southern Cal, and they were down by 14, and I was like. I remember I tweeted out, I says, I hope Maryland's coach understands math and goes for it on 2, and he did. And then they made it. They cut it to 6. But
that's why he wins so many big games. And I mean that's why that team is. I mean,
but you still have to understand math if you want to be a head coach in sports.
Then why don't Nick Saban and Bill Belichick ever do that?
You're just trust me. They were never down 14. You have to be down 14, Mitch. But the thing is, when a coach doesn't understand math, you do something like Shanahan and you don't take the ball, whatever. You he blew the overtime call where he should have had the ball second. So it's just, cost them a Super Bowl. So these coaches who don't understand math, they pay for it in the end.
I'm glad we can all agree I'm right on this. Anyways.
All righty. Let's keep it rolling. The next game up, we head to Kansas City, where the Chiefs are 8-point favorites over the Denver Broncos. Total 41.5. Chiefs, man, they did get the win last week. Failed to cover over the Tampa Bay Bucks. Game ended up going to overtime. Man, will the Broncos keep this game close? The Broncos, they got aired out last week by another good Baltimore Ravens team. I'm on the Chiefs. Unless I have a clear and concise reason to fade them, I'm taking Kansas City. Denver showed me last week. They showed me their hand. They don't have the offense to compete with some of the best teams in the league. They'll beat the bad teams. They are a decent team. They're a middle of the pack team. But when they go up against the good teams, they just don't have the offensive firepower. And defensively, when their offense can't go with them and their defense is left hung out to dry, that's what happens. And that's kind of what I took away from last week. And I don't think anything changes this week. If anything, I think Kansas City will continue to improve with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. We got to keep an eye out on Patrick Mahomes and how that injury will affect him moving forward. But he seems to always bounce back tremendously after something like that. So Kansas City in Arrowhead, I'm laying it. Mitch, how you feeling?
I really don't want to take the Chiefs here, but I don't really see any other angle. The Broncos got boat raced last week against the Ravens, a game where a lot of people were on the Ravens, or were on the Broncos. It was just one of those things where it was just a horrible spot for them. I think this is a better spot for the Broncos, and I could see a path, but it's tough for me to back it because I just don't think that the talent level is there equal across the board. And the Chiefs, they continue to get banged up, but they continue to play well. I mean, if you have Patrick Mahomes, it just makes up for a lot. I mean, but he's injured. And, if the Broncos do get a clean shot on him and he doesn't have his mobility and they take him out of the game, I mean, the Chiefs generally don't have the who's who of backup quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if Mahomes gets knocked out or if he misses significant time, which is a risk they're willing to take, apparently.
Fair enough. Al?
There's an old adage, only bet on underdogs that you think can win the game straight up. I don't think Denver can win the game straight up, so why would I be interested in them, at +8? The Chiefs, obviously, there's also this interesting storyline going around right now. The Chiefs are undefeated, and people are saying, like, well, they're undefeated, but they're not the best team. And, until someone beats the Chiefs, I think they're the best team. But
the defending champs and
it's like, everyone wants to go find the shiny new, nickel or whatever, the Detroit Lions or, whoever. But the Chiefs haven't lost. So until you beat them, they're the best team. I understand they don't cover a lot of point spreads sometimes. They didn't cover, the Monday night game in overtime. But undefeated teams off a point spread loss, they're a solid 45-27 ATS, provided they're not favored by 9 or more in the current game. So right now they're favored by 8. The Chiefs have dominated Denver here at Arrowhead. They're 8-0 straight up, 5-3 ATS in those games. Unless you think Denver has a chance to win the game, straight up, I don't see why you want to take them at +8. So I'll take Kansas City.
Fair enough. Let's keep it pushing. We head to Washington, where the Commanders are 2.5-point home favorites over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitch, how you feeling here?
Last week I had the Giants against the Commanders, and they got so lucky to get that cover. I mean, it just took some hideous coaching to get there. The Steelers come off the bye week here, and I think, once again, a little bit of an interesting matchup. I think the Commanders might be just a little bit ahead of themselves. I think that they're a good team. I think Daniels is certainly great. I didn't like the way he got distracted from the game, jabbing with neighbors and stuff. I get it. You're friends, right? You played together or whatever. We get it. But, in the NFL, it's like that'll cost you a game eventually. And believe me, it'll be one of those ugly press conferences you'll have to sit through, and it'll never happen again. But I think for me in this one, I just think that the Commanders backing just a little bit ahead of itself. I think that, Daniels up against this defense off of a weaker rest, probably not the best spot for him. I don't love the Steelers quarterbacking situation. I mean, who does? But, At the same time, they have a lot of other players. They don't have to lean on the quarterback all that much. This is a run the football, play defense team, and I like those. So I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. Also, I think if it comes down to a bad call, I think the Steelers will always get that, and I think the Commanders are a team that generally don't get the calls. So I'm going to take the Steelers.
Al?
I actually think Russell's played fairly well in his starts. I'm not a Russell Wilson hater at the moment. Anyway, I'm not taking Pittsburgh, but I think Pittsburgh.
He hasn't been bad, but it's he's Russell Wilson. At the end of the day, he's going to do his Russell Wilson things. He's not the same quarterback that went to the Super Bowl.
No. I'm not saying that, but he's like the best thing they've had since Roethlisberger. I mean, they've had garbage there the last couple of years. So I think it's an upgrade, and I think the Steelers, just with that upgraded quarterback, I think they can make some noise. I think they can win a playoff game. But the Commanders, Jesus, I don't want to step in front of them at all. They've got the best point spread record in the league. They're 7-1-1 ATS after that fortunate cover against the Giants last week. It's a 4-point road favorite. They did fail to cover that first week. If you guys remember that 37-20 loss to Tampa Bay, they're 7-0-1 ATS their last 8 games. It's just not a team I want to step in front of right now, so I'm going to lay the points at home.
This is the game to fade them. I'm on Pittsburgh in this one. Washington, they're not as good as advertised. Good team. Hindsight's 2020 though. Like, they're not playing anybody in reality when you just kind of look back at it. Giants, Bears, Panthers, Browns.
They destroyed Arizona, which has had some nice games.
That was a while ago.
I was just going to say that.
But you're playing with. But I mean, that game was like a lot of people were on Arizona. They were thinking, we'll Washington.
I was.
And that game, what was it? It was like 28-0 or 28-7.
Their 2 wins. The 2 wins I will give them hella credit for are Cincinnati and Arizona, 2 teams I am high on this season. But outside of that, they've beaten on a lot of bad and mediocre. I don't think that's what they're facing this week. I think this week this is good on good. I think they're good. I think the Commanders are a good team, and I think the Steelers are a good team. And I think we're getting 2 good teams going up against each other. We're getting an experienced, been there, done that, defensive head coach in Mike Tomlin. I think he draws up a scheme that's going to have a young Commanders rookie quarterback struggling. That's all I think here. So you're giving me plus money with the veteran Steelers group. Now, granted, the same thing can really be said going the other way for the Steelers. They haven't really won the greatest games against the greatest competition either. But the edge for me is Mike Tomlin and the defense, and the edge for me is we're getting plus money in a legitimate 50-50 game. That's how I ended up on this one. So give me Steelers. That's the way I'm going to attack this one.
I definitely see that argument.
Yes, sir. Let's keep it pushing. We head to Jacksonville. This line kind of on the move right now as we're recording. I currently see Minnesota laying 4 on the road. Al, you're up here.
Yeah, the line's on the move because of the Trevor Lawrence, situation. He's questionable to play. Now I was looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars, recent schedule. Going back to last season, they're 3-12 straight up their last 15. And their 3 wins were against the Carolina Panthers, the Indianapolis Colts, and the New England Patriots. Essentially the 2 worst teams and 1 mediocre team. So now they've got to play a very good Minnesota Vikings team, which is 6-2. The Vikings are also giving up just 18.75 points per game. And Minnesota has been solid as a road favorite. They're 17-10 ATS in that situation. Meanwhile, the Jaguars are 2-14 straight up, 5-10-1 ATS versus opponents with a 750 or better win percentage. They're also 8-16 ATS at home and facing a good defensive team with a 18.75 points per game defensive scoring average or better. Throw in the fact that Lawrence may not play. You got to take Minnesota here, or at least I do.
Fair. I'm on Minnesota in this one as well. Not a game I'm totally in love with, but it's Vikings or pass for me in this game. The Jags are a bad football team. It just is what it is. They've been a bad football team since mid last season. And I'm done catching falling knives. If you're falling, you're a falling knife that deserves not to be caught. While Minnesota seems to be a team that's steady ascending. Even last week when they found themselves kind of sticky situation late, they pulled away, won and covered. Now, we're probably looking at something similar here in this one. So I'll lay the points with Minnesota. Again, not a game I'm totally in love with. Now trusting Minnesota to lay points on the road is, with Sam Darnold at quarterback, think about this before the season started. We'd probably be asking ourselves, are we okay? But, hey, things happen mid-season, and that's the way I'm laying. I'm going to lay it here with Minnesota. Mitch?
True story. A few years ago on NFL draft night, I received several death threats from 49ers fans after I said the 49ers screwed up their draft. They should have taken Mac Jones over Trey Lance. Well, I guess we both were wrong. But the thing is that, could be the Mac Jones show here for the Jaguars. And maybe, sitting on the bench and getting some time to learn might be what he needed, And I think the problem with NFL QBs these days, they get pushed right into action. I mean, 20 years ago, QB sat on the bench when they were drafted. They sat there for a year or 2 years. And, in the pre-free agency era, sometimes even longer than that. And, I think, if Mac Jones has to play in this game, well, he has to play in this game. But the thing is that I think the Jaguars can do what they can to make it close. We saw them last week in Philly, demand to cover in that game. They just were not going to take a not cover for an answer in that thing. And when push came to shove and the offense couldn't get it done, the defense got it done and, scooped and scored. Yeah, Saquon Barkley had a career highlight film against them, but they still ended up winning. And that's really all that matters in football, in the NFL. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. It matters who covers. I'm going to take the Jags at home, getting better than a field goal. As Al Davis used to say, just cover, baby.
You love Mac Jones. Well, let's keep rolling. We head to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I think that's what it's called. Well, they might have changed it. But anyways, we head to New Orleans, where the Saints are 4.5-point home dogs with the Atlanta Falcons coming in. I'm up first here in this one. This is a tough game. These are division game. These teams always seem to play each other in tight games. The Saints, now mid-season, coach firing. This is the buy spot. Me and Al talk about all the time. We talk about it every year, and I'm just gonna roll with it, man. Give me the Saints plus the points in this one. I don't want to overcomplicate it. It's the buy spot on mid-season, coach firing. Teams show up in this spot. And then we're getting Atlanta off of beating the most public team on the planet, my team, the Cowboys, now on the road, division game, laying over a field goal. It's just a perfect situation for me. Give me New Orleans plus the points in this one. Mitch?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. This is a rivalry game, so this always makes it a little tougher. The Saints just can't seem to get away from the injuries. Now Olave, out. And the thing is you look at this Falcons team, and it's like they're always a play away from underachieving. It just seems to be that way, and they've been that way for a very long time. But I think, when we look at, I'll let you guys in on something. When I'm in doubt on just free picks or anything like this, I have one of these sites that I go to. And it's like, that happens to be one of the most public sites out there. They have a forum, and they're really, it's a very active forum. And a lot of people that think they're these sharp, smart bettors. And they have a thing where they do like a consensus of the people that read the site. They do like a vote. I just find a vote. And I mean, if it gets over 70% range, it is basically a stone cold lock going the other way. And right now, as I look at this one, 81% of their readers are on the Falcons minus the points. I just can't bring myself to backing that number because I've never seen a number where 81% of this site's readers have hit on a winner. I don't think ever. So I'm gonna take the other side. You rarely see them that high, in the 80s. It's rare. But they are there, and it's the Atlanta Falcons of all teams.
Fair. Al?
So, well, I'm going to just echo what Jay said. It's it's tempered by the fact that Olave, got injured. I don't like that, but
Fair.
with the new head coach, in the first two games, those teams are 28-12 ATS, as long as the head coach is replaced prior to game 11 of a season. So I'll take New Orleans plus the points.
Al, what's a better strategy, fading a public poll or buying a really bad capper's picks just to fade them all? Because I do both.
I do neither. I think I look. Everyone has a different way to do things.
You go to some of these other sites and they're just.
I don't go to. I don't care. I mean, I'm so focused on my own stuff. I do my own thing. I'm an originator. I don't care what other people think, or So I just do my own.
I mean, you don't see like one of these guys, and I won't name any names, but you see what they got. You just say, man, I can't help myself but put down a 16 parlay just to straight out fade of this guy.
I just bet on my own games. That's all. I don't know what to say.
I mean, I do that too for the bulk, but it's like I like that fun too, like the rest of the people. And just believe me, there's some terrible handicappers out there.
No, I don't doubt that, but I think I'm a better handicapper than someone is a terrible handicapper. So I'd rather bet on my games than bet against someone else's.
There's some guys out there that are just, I mean, it's amazing at just how bad they are. I mean, they got it, like they don't show the records, but I mean, they must be down, 25, 30,000 units for the year.
I don't know.
Fair enough. Let's keep it rolling.
But I do. You'll have to send me a text message with the name of the website.
Absolutely.
I'll check it out.
We head to Tampa, where the Bucs are 5.5-point home dogs with the Niners rolling in. Mitch, you laying the points with the Niners on the road?
Generally, I don't. The Niners are getting healthy, though. Christian McCaffrey, I know, has been practicing. So that is probably pretty good news for them. The Bucs coming off that real disappointing loss against the Chiefs. They had him, they had him dead to rights. Do you think they should have gone for two toward the end of the game there? Well, there you go for two when you score that final touchdown and you have a chance to either go for the win or go for overtime. On that play, on the road, you go for two. At home, you kick the extra point. That's generally the thought. That's what the great coaches do. I would have gone for two.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a coin flip whether what you choose to do. I don't think the home road really makes a difference. I think more that Kansas City is a better team makes a difference. So if you think you've got a 50% chance to win the game right there, I mean, why the hell not, right?
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes 50-50 that he's going to get the ball, right? So it's
exactly.
Trouble.
I mean, yeah. So I would have. I think that's the scary part because Patrick Mahomes isn't playing for field goals. Like he's going to, he's going to be getting that touchdown if he wins a coin flip. So
you see, how many times does he have to do it?
Right.
But in this game, the Niners and the Bucs. I think I'm going to lean to the Niners. I don't love them. But I think, a little bit well-rested, maybe get a little bit healthier while the Bucs, come off that game and are just a real physical game and disappointing game as well. So I think the Bucs have better days ahead. I'm just not so sure that's going to be this season.
Fair. Al, how you feel here?
I'm going to look at the total. This is contrarian, obviously. The Buccaneers have played 6 straight overs. They've given up 30, 31, and 41 points in their last 3 games. So obviously I'm going to look for a lower scoring game here. NFL teams that have given up 30 or more points in each of their previous 2 games, they've gone under the total 58% since 1980 when the over-under line was 50 or more. This line has opened in the 48 range, but it's all the way up to 50.5, 51 right now. So given that it's crept up to the 50.5, 51 range, I'm going to take the under.
I'm on the Niners. I'm going to lay it and just pray they come out and play Niner-style football coming off a bye, playing a banged-up Buccaneers team who is coming off a decent game, national television against the undefeated Chiefs. It's just a sell high point for me on Tampa. I think they played above their pay grade a week ago. I think this week we really see the injuries against a really, on the offensive side of the ball, catch up to them against a really good defensive Niners team. And I think the Niners needed that week off, that week of fresh air. And this is kind of the week to let's get back to basics. Let's get back to who we are. We're 4-4. Season's not over. Season's not dead. Let's this be the game to propel us forward. I think is the mantra in San Francisco. I think they come out here and win this game by at least a touchdown. So final score, I'm going to go somewhere in the range of, I kind of like the under with Big Al. I'm going to go 27-20. 47 points, 27-20. Gets us under the total and a Niners cover. That's how I see this one shaping out. Let's keep it rolling. We head to Indianapolis with the Colts. 4-point dogs with the Buffalo Bills rolling in. Buffalo, they were in a dogfight early in that game with the Dolphins. They failed to cover, but they did win it. And they continue their terror on the Miami Dolphins. Al, how you feeling here?
I don't like this game at all. I'm just going to lean to the Colts only because they've been so good coming off a Suat's loss. They're 49-22 with a push ATS, including 9-2 ATS at home dog, but it's bottom of the barrel for me.
This is a game I have to do more homework on as the week progresses. I still don't know who's even going to start here, if it's going to be Flacco or Richardson. It could be either one of them. The Colts have been a decent ATS team. They were in that game last week, failed to cover, though, on the road. They are at home. I usually trust them more in these style situations. The Bills, though, I like what I'm seeing from Buffalo this season. I'm usually a Buffalo hater, but y'all haven't really heard me harp on Buffalo this season. Y'all haven't heard me harp on Josh Allen because I actually like what I'm seeing. And I think they are the better football team. Forced to pick right now today, even despite the Colts' ATS record, I still think the Bills find a way to probably punch in a late touchdown and get the cover. So as of I sit here right now today, I lean Bills, but of course I'll be live Sunday morning. Make sure you tune in for that show, and I'll have a definite better answer on this game, but I'll lean Bills. Mitch?
Yeah, this is a tough one. The Colts still going with Joe Flacco here. I don't love that whole idea, but, obviously it's their team. They know what they're doing, and I think, we saw them last time against the Vikings just kind of blow the game. They had it at halftime, let it slip away. But I think it's going to be a close and competitive game, and I think just getting points at home, I'm just going to take the Colts.
Let's keep it rolling. We head to Chicago, where the Bears are 6-point favorites over the New England Patriots. For the first time this season, I'm laying the points with the Chicago Bears. I feel dirty. I feel disgusted. I really don't want to. I'm not a Bears supporter. But I think if there was a spot where I feel comfortable laying the points with them, it would have to be here. Coming off back-to-back losses against two decent teams, this is the spot where they're actually going up against a team they are head and shoulders better than. We've been able to see them beat up on bad teams. They beat up on the Carolina. They beat up on Jacksonville. And I kind of think they do the same here to the Patriots. Patriots played an okay game last week. That game against the Titans was basically the exact game that just popped into your mind. It went exactly how you thought it went. We know who the Patriots are. They're going to try to muck this game up, make it low scoring. We're going to need the Bears to probably hold on for a late lead in this game. It's not going to be a fun game to bet, ugly game. But I lean Chicago. They are head and shoulders a better football team. I'll lean in that direction. Mitch, how you feel?
I'm going to take the Patriots and the points in this one. And the reason why I'm doing so is I think this is going to be a very, very low-scoring game. I used to live in Chicago, and I could tell you that a 20-mile-an-hour wind in Chicago is like a 50-mile-an-hour wind anywhere else. And it's possible. I've been to games at Soldier where the kicker has kicked the ball, and it's gone out of bounds sideways when they've kicked it straight down the middle of the field. I've seen field goals that have gone sideways at Soldier. You do not want to be banking that there's going to be any kind of scoring, in those wind games at Soldier, and I think that's what we're going to have in this one. Also, weather report calling for rain in this thing. And Caleb Williams, I don't know if you saw last week's game, but I mean, it was the first, like, we've seen him play bad and make bad decisions and a couple bad throws and whatever, rookie quarterback. But last week was the first game where he got physically beaten to a pulp. And I really think, that he's probably got to be hurting after that, because they peeled him up off the turf a couple times. His lineman had to peel him up because he couldn't get up, because, I mean, he was just getting drilled. And I think that the Patriots probably just continued the drilling on him here. I like the Patriots to probably cover in this game. And I think the under is really, really good play as well.
Fair. Big Al, how you see this one?
I'm going to take the Patriots too. Unbelievable play to end that regulation last week. That cost me a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I had Tennessee. I had Tennessee -3, so they pushed for me in the overtime. And I'll always take a push. I just want to avoid the loss. I mean, you can also have a bad result in overtime, so I didn't mind the push. But what a crazy play to end that game. I'm going to take New England here. They're 36-10 ATS on the road off a loss if they're not favored by 7 or more. Here, of course, they're a 5.5-point underdog, so I'll grab the points with New England.
Let's keep it rolling, fellas. Next game up, we're heading to Los Angeles. We're in the 3 o'clock window now, where the Chargers are 7.5-point home favorites over the Tennessee Titans. Two teams, man. If I had a Ruffalo, this would probably be it. Mitch, how you feel here?
Well, the thing is that, the site that I look for, and I look at those consensuses and all that stuff, this one is a heavy consensus on the Chargers. But, I took the Chargers last week against the Browns. It was one of my top plays on the board. I know a lot of people were against me on that one, too. I do like the Chargers in this one, too, though. I think the Chargers are – so I know Jay thinks the Chiefs are going to go undefeated, but I actually think the Chargers have a shot to beat them. I'm not a Jim Harbaugh guy. I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I think that he has a system there that works that will work against the good teams. In the NFL, it's splitting hairs among who's good. I mean, there's one Mahomes, right? But I mean, the rest of the rosters, it is splitting hairs over who is better than who. 4-2-1 versus 4-2, right? It is close all around. But the thing that separates teams is, the Chargers are 5-3. They're garbage, right? Understand? Just terrible. They're 5-3. They don't even throw the football. They haven't even thrown the football yet at all. But what they don't do, which I like against a team like this, is they don't turn the ball over at all. They just do not turn it over. And it's like, if you don't turn the ball over, you have a better chance of winning. That really is what it comes down to. It's like, you look at the Titans, 32nd in the league in interception, 29th in fumbles. And while the Chargers aren't great, ball hawks at recovering fumbles, they don't give it up, They don't turn the ball over. So it's like the Chargers are second best in interception. They're 11th in fumbles, but that's 0.4 per game. So they've played how many games? They played 8 games, so 0.4 per game. They fumbled basically twice all season. I'm taking the Chargers.
Al?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what the status is for Will Levis right now.
He plays them doubling down.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to play. Anyway, I'm going to look at the total. The Chargers have played their last 3 games under the total. They've given up 10, 8, and 17 points in those 3 games. So I'm going to take the over here. NFL teams off 3 straight unders that gave up 35 or more points combined in those 3 games. They've gone 121 and 83 over the total their next game. So I'm going to take it over to 38.
I can see the Chargers making it to the playoffs and causing some teams some problems.
I agree.
I hate Jim Harbaugh, but I'm telling you, I really do believe it, because they just have that type of team where it's like they have the right guys. They're not turning the ball over and playing solid defense, like time of possession, all those boring, terrible things that we all hate when we're watching football. They do them all very well.
I
They
see.
really make you hate the game.
I see this game differently. I see the Chargers completely differently than I see them. I think the Chargers finished the season with a losing record.
No way.
Yes
No
way.
chance.
Yes way.
No.
They got the Bengals on deck. Then after that, they got the Ravens. Then after that, they got the Falcons. Then after that, they got the Chiefs. They could go easily have a losing record after that. Then they got the Bucks, who may be slightly healthy by then. Then they'll have the Broncos, who will still be competing by then. They may get just above 500 their last two games against the Patriots and the Raiders, but hell no.
I think they beat the Chiefs 10-7. I'm going to say for the Chargers, which would be a far cry from where they were. 10-7.
Fair. I don't think they get there though. I don't.
Did you see they got the? I mean, when they finally did throw the football, did you see how wide open that receiver was? The guy from TCU. I mean, he was wide open. I mean, there was not another guy on the TV screen. What's his name? The guy from TCU.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was wide open. I mean,
but it still comes down to competition for me and the
Yeah,
Chargers.
but you're. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, all the Bengals do is lose, and the Chargers are favored by 7.5 against Tennessee. They're going to be favored against the Bengals. They're going to be favored against the Buccaneers.
I'm going to be all over that Bengals money line. That might be my biggest play of the year. Bengals versus Chargers. I ain't lying.
They'll be favored against the Broncos at home. They're going to be favored against the Patriots, so that's 5 games. They're going to be favored against the Raiders. They're going to be favored in 6 of their remaining games. So I think you're a little bit off.
I think plus 300 this week on Tennessee money line is live. I think next week in Cincinnati's live. Ravens for sure winning. Atlanta's for sure winning. And
but the Ravens aren't for sure winning. The Ravens will be a 3.5 point favorite.
They're for sure winning. They're for sure winning.
They're not for sure winning.
That's my thoughts on the Chargers. That's what I'm telling you. Our thoughts on the Chargers are completely different. I see this team totally different than what y'all see it. Everybody keeps waiting on the passing game to show up. I'm here to tell you there is no goddamn passing game. Justin Herbert ain't never been like that. And John Harbaugh in this running game, I mean, the running back, will he even be healthy throughout the game? I'm going to keep saying that as well in Dobbins because he's yet to show me the capability to make it through a season. I don't know, man. I'm selling all Chargers stock. Land 7.5 with this team. I cannot do. Solid win last week over the Browns. But it's still a bad football team with a backup quarterback who was slightly overrated because they beat a divisional opponent. That's how I see it, man. I'm definitely on the Titans plus the points here. And I haven't bet the Titans really much this season because of how terrible they were earlier this year. But not points with the Chargers. Can't do it. Won't do it. Give me Tennessee. Let's keep it rolling. Next game up, we head to Dallas, where the Cowboys are 7-point home dogs with the Philadelphia Eagles rolling in. Total around 41.5. So let's just look at the Cowboys this season, man. At home this season, they've pretty much been boat raced by everybody. Everybody's came into Dallas and had great Sundays. The Saints did 44-19. The Ravens did early. The Cowboys fake came back, made it interesting in the end. The Lions came in there, put up 47 on us. It hasn't been a great season for Dallas. You know, the Packers, even going back to last game in Jerry World, it was ugly. It hasn't been pretty for Dallas here, but I'm still taking my Cowboys. I don't care what y'all say. I still think the Eagles are overrated and overvalued. What I saw from Cooper Rush late in that football game was slightly encouraging. He was slightly encouraging. It just reminded me of who Cooper Rush is. It's the same Cooper Rush that last time he was in there I need to remind y'all he went undefeated. He didn't lose a game. I ain't saying we win this game. I'm not saying that. The Eagles are the better team. We're ass. We're completely banged up. Our season's 9 times out of 10 over. But if you think we're going to lay down to the fucking Eagles at home at 7-point dogs, you're crazy. It's not happening. If there's a game we show up and with some energy, some fight, I believe it's this one. I'm on the Cowboys plus the 7. I also remember last time Cooper Rush went up against the Eagles, I felt like I was dead. Remember, Mitch? Remember that game, Mitch?
Yeah.
I remember that game, man. Cowboys got me the cover for me in that game against Philly with Coop. I think he does it again. Give me the Cowboys points. I'm praying right now it's not Trey Lance. There are some rumors that Trey Lance may try to sneak his way in there. If it's that, I don't want to see that. If it's Cooper Rush, I'm definitely on the Cowboys. So it's still early in the week, but that's my thoughts. Mitch.
I wouldn't be all that shocked if it was Trey Lance, but at the same time, I'm going to take the Cowboys here. I'm like less than sold on the Eagles. I think like maybe Sirianni is starting to listen to me. Maybe he actually gets it because they had a 4th and short last week. They did not run the tush push. Maybe Jalen Hurts is starting to wear down. That maybe the idea of slamming your quarterback in the back with a 365-pound offensive lineman on both sides maybe isn't such a great idea if you wanted to remain healthy for the entire season. They do all these things to protect the quarterback and protect the quarterback's health, and the Eagles decide that, if it was a defensive player doing to Hurts what his own players do to him, it would be a penalty. It would be unnecessary roughness. But this is what Sirianni calls. I think he's wearing down. What we've seen last year from Jalen Hurts, once we got into November, he was really just not a shell of the player that he was earlier in the season. And I think we'll see the deterioration again. And I think that play last week on the goal line, when they ran like a play action or something, clearly sends a message that Jalen Hurts, he's wearing down already, man, and they know he is. I think they're in trouble. They lost their top receiver last week as well, Brown. I like the Cowboys in this one. I think the Cowboys, they need a game where everybody's just against them, and I think that where nobody thinks they can do it, and all that other stuff, and that's sometimes what teams need. It's sometimes what they need.
Fair, Al.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Eagles' schedule, and what's interesting is when you look at the games they failed to cover, they've had a lot of goofy shit happen for them not to cover. I'm just trying to have maybe a revisionist thing here on the Eagles. I think they might be better than we think they are. Remember the Falcons game? They beat the Packers game 1, then Falcons game 2. Just a stupid play call, right? If he runs the ball instead of passes the ball, when they're down in the red zone there, they probably win that game and probably cover. They then beat the Saints 15-12. They've had one bad game all year. They lost 33-16 to Tampa Bay. After that, they played the Cleveland Browns. They don't cover the spread in that game, and that was basically, what was that? That was a 60-yard pick six or something that got Cleveland. Cleveland didn't even score an offensive touchdown. That was a defensive touchdown, a goofy play that otherwise Philadelphia covers that game. They blow out the Giants 28-3, blow out the Bengals 37-17. Last week against the Jaguars, it's the defensive, scoop and score, and then you also have the field goal that hits the upright right that, would have also made them win by 8 and cover. Philadelphia's been probably better than I think a lot of people realize this year. I'm not saying they're a great team, but I think they're, they've had a lot of weird stuff happen.
Philadelphia has been beneficiaries of the second place schedule not having to play the first place schedule in the division. That's what this is. Look at their schedule compared to Dallas's. It's not even comparable. And that's why my Cowboys are dead. That's why we're dead. It's because our schedule, we've played goddamn everybody in our back end.
Yeah, but they got crushed by everybody, man.
The Eagles still have that same schedule really coming up. It's gonna get.
But the Eagles they beat a solid Green Bay team in week 1.
In week 1, we were all together on that terrible field.
I know. I'm just saying that I don't think their schedule. I don't think they've played a weak schedule. I think they played an average schedule. They've beat the Bengals on the road. They beat the Packers, in Mexico and Brazil. They beat the Falcons. Tampa Bay's turned out to be an okay team.
They lost to the Falcons.
They lost to the Falcons. Right? They lost to the Falcons. But they've played some good teams. Okay. I can't back Dallas given their 21-43 ATS record versus winning teams. Dallas doesn't step up against quality opposition. I'll take Philly.
Fair. Fair. Philly is the better team. I know that's what y'all want me to say, but they not finna blow us out. I don't think. We'll see. If they do, I'll wear a Philly hat this week. We'll see. Keep it rolling. We head to Arizona, where my Cardinals, man. I've been betting them Cardinals every game this year. Shout out them Cardinals. They're even money this week with the Jets coming in. Jets, huge win last week. Was that the win that propels them forward, Mitch? Or are we still on the fuck the Jets, fade their ass train? How you feel?
Fading Jets, man. It's just what I do. It's like eat, breathe, sleep,
Fade the Jets.
fade the Jets. It's like pretty much is that simple for me. It's like I understand they won that game on Monday night. I didn't watch it because the Jets were on, right? So I don't watch football games if the Jets are playing or the Giants. I'm just kind of done with it. But I think in this particular case, I just think the Cardinals are just so underrated. I just really continue to say the same thing every week, and maybe I'll sound like a broken record, but the Cardinals' running game is probably the best in the NFL. Let me see where they rank. They got to be up there, man. They are just so good at running the football. And the Jets, they stink at running the football. Oh, Brees Hall's so good. They have like the worst running game. And the Cardinals, so 7th in yards, but they're 2nd in yards per carry. And I think they just pummel this Jets sieve of a run defense. And while the Jets pass defense rates out pretty good, you know, Kyler Murray just it's like, you know, they said in Jurassic Park, he just finds a way, you know. Just I don't know. It's an amazing thing. And last week the way the defense was hitting, oh my God. I mean, that Caleb Williams, man, I don't know how he got up. It's like sometimes you see it and just like, how does this guy get up? And I mean, he didn't get up. The offensive lineman helped him up twice. It's like it was one of those where like he wasn't getting up, and they like got him up. It was bad.
Fair. Al?
You know, I'm going to take the Jets primarily because of the scheduling advantage. They played last Thursday, so they've had more time off than Arizona. And teams off Thursday games, they do have an edge over unrested foes who played on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. The week before, those teams off the Thursday game are 352 and 312 ATS. So it's enough of an edge for me to take New York.
I'm fading the Jets. I'm with Mitch. I'm on the Cardinals. And I could come on the show every week and tell you I'm betting the Cardinals. There's pretty much nothing that's going to get me off the Cardinals. I believe in these boys, man. I believe in these boys. I think they have a legitimate chance to go and win this division. I do. They got a tough back-end schedule. Next up, Seattle, Minnesota, Seattle, then New England, then Carolina, then the Rams, then the Niners. So if they want it, it's right there on their plate. They got to go get it. And I think going up against a weak, overrated, overvalued Jets team, this is a perfect situation to just take the home team at even money and don't even overcomplicate it. I think we're getting the better team against the most overrated team in the league, the Jets. People still not ready to give up on the Jets. People still not ready to trust their eyes. They did pull off one last week. Hats off to them. That was a good win for them. I don't think it's – I think they returned to who they've been for most of the season this week, a bad football team, taking the Cardinals. Let's keep it pushing. We head to Sunday Night Football, where the Texans try to avenge last week's loss, man. They're home dogs here with the Lions laying 3.5. Al, you're up here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just want to go against the Lions off that huge, division win over Green Bay. Both teams entered that game, with really good records. Lions were 6-1, Green Bay was 6-2, so the winner, was going to be, in first place. And Detroit did win that game. Now they have to go on the road to face a Houston team, which is off that straight-up loss on Thursday. So, two reasons I like Houston in the game. One, Detroit falls into a negative system of mind that's cashed. Well, the teams that you go against have cashed 26%. And that system involves going against teams off big division wins. And then, as I just mentioned, with the Jets-Arizona game, Houston is off the Thursday night football game, so they've had a little bit extra time. So that's a slight edge that the teams off the Thursday game will have over the teams off the Sunday game. So I'll take Houston plus 3.5.
Houston money line for me, word for word, bar for bar with Big Al. It's fairly simple. I have been the same guy though that have come here and say unless I have a clear and concise reason to fade the Lions, I'm not gonna do so. Dan Campbell is a money making machine, and all that shit is still true, man. All that shit is still evident. We've been cashing at a generational rate with them Detroit Lions, but I think this is a great buy low spot on the Texans off the mini bye week from last week, and like Big Al said, the Lions coming off the division win. Um, Texans Sunday Night Football, a chance to kind of flex their muscles and show to the world we are that team that a lot of people labeled us as to start the season, that next up-and-coming really good football team. That's us. Yeah, I got to attack the plus money here with the Texans. I think C.J. Stroud shows up. The Lions' defense isn't necessarily a defense that I think scares me. Their offense scares me, but I think the Texans, when on, can go stride for stride with them. So maybe a higher-scoring, fun Sunday Night Football game. Maybe probably one of the most exciting football games of the season. One of the most exciting Sunday night games of the season. Offensive fireworks style game. Give me over and give me the Texans money line. Mitch?
I've gone against the Lions every single week. I've gotten absolutely beaten up. I gave out the Packers as my top play last week. That's how bad it got. And they were right there and just, they couldn't get the touchdown on the opening drive. And then I don't know what Jordan Love. It's like that's what it's he's still only a second-year QB, right? And it's like that's what they do. They get in trouble and they think that they can make this like miracle throw. Maybe they grew up watching this on TV and they saw guys make this play or whatever. It's like it's such a low percentage play and it has to be there in order for that to work. If not, it's an easy pick six. It's the NFL. These are the best players in the world.
You're talking about the play at the end of the first half?
Yeah.
But that's also on the coach. I mean, it's Jordan Love makes the mistake, but the coach, you shouldn't even be going for it there with the rainstorm, with hardly any time left in the first half. You should be just kneeling on the ball, going to the locker room.
I agree. But you take the sack there or you throw it into the ground and even take an intentional grounding. You don't do that, what he did. Late over the middle in the NFL is a touchdown the other way. It is, Doesn't matter if it's a wobbler. Doesn't matter if it's a dart right down the middle of the field. Late over the middle, bad things happen, and that's exactly what happened. That game was over when that happened. It was a tight game, and you're like, well, come out in the second half, they get a stop, they get the momentum. We've seen it a million times, right? But it was like once that happened, that's it. See, and I say this all the time in the NFL, once the lead goes double digits, the game plan goes out the window. I mean, that really is what it is because you have to catch up. And it's like, so you have to pass. So once it goes double digits, it all goes out the window and the other team knows you're going to pass. So they're blitzing on you every play. And that's why you see games get out of hand once it goes double digits. And people say, oh, they just absolutely killed them. It's like sometimes it's a bad call that gets them to double digits. Sometimes it's a fluky play. And it's, oh, they killed them or whatever. It was probably, when they got to 11, that was basically the whole game changed. And, in that game, it was definitely that, I'm going to take the Texans in this one, man. I just think, I'm going to continue to fade the Lions. I don't care. I'm going to win one. I'm going to be like Brian Bitler. See, I told you. I am.
Fair enough. Last game of the week, fellas. Monday Night Football. Mitch, it's them Dolphins. They're on the road in L.A. in the Rams. Laying 1 currently. I do see this line kind of moving, so keep an eye on it. Mitch, how you feeling here?
I think that, we have the worst coach in the NFL on one side of the field here. And when you have the worst coach, I think you just continue to fade him till the wheels fall off. I understand they got the cover last week in Buffalo, but it was none of his doing. I'm going to take the Rams here big.
Al?
I'm going to take Miami. Monday Night Football games where you've got one team off 3 losses and the other team off back-to-back wins, the team off 3 or more losses. They've gone 24-11 ATS. Miami's on a 3-game losing streak. The Rams have won 3 in a row. So, I'll take the cold team. I'll take Miami.
I'm on the Rams. I'm just gonna trust my eyes. One team is dead. One team's done. One team's cooked. The other team still has their whole season ahead of them. Can still win and host a playoff game. One team's overrated, overvalued. With the more talent in the Dolphins, everybody still believes in them. Everybody else on the other team, the Rams, the better football team, people thought had the worst roster in the league coming into the season. One team has the worst head coach in the league in Mike McDaniel. The other team has one of the best head coaches in the league in Sean McVay. It's apples and oranges here, man. One organization doesn't know how to run one. The other, they're in another city and they've already won a Super Bowl since the last time the Dolphins have. Like it's levels to this shit, man. And I think the Rams just outclassed the Dolphins in this one in every way and pull it off on Monday Night Football. I'm tired of the Dolphins. I'm sticking a fork in them. Give me the Rams.
Cam Ward to the Dolphins.
I could see it. Same stadiums, comfortable, chilling.
Same fan base.
I can see it. Shador to Las Vegas, and I'm hoping my Cowboys tank for Travis. That's the game plan. Well, fellas, that concludes this week of Picks from the DawgHouse NFL edition. It's been another great episode with the two great Big Al McMorty and Big Al I can't even talk. And with Mitch Wilson. We appreciate each and every one of you that continue to join us and watch this video. Mitch, any final words from you, sir?
No, just, another week of the NFL. Always just, you got to treat it as such. And for me, it's like, NFL not necessarily my favorite sport. And I think, this time of year, it doesn't have to be your favorite sport. And there's going to be plenty of other action on Sunday. The NBA is doing a great job in college hoops. Still that out-of-conference stuff and still that early season stuff. So I'm treading very, very lightly in college hoops too. But, man, I just feel almost overwhelmed, with the amount of stuff that we're going through these days. But that's all part of it. It's what we signed up for. And after a while, it's like you look up and it's March and it's kind of like you wondering where it all went.
Right. Al, any final words from you?
No, Mitch pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. So we'll see y'all next week. Same time, same program. We out of here. Peace.